Good morning, and we are back here November 10th. It is nice, crispy, and chilly out there. Money Truth Moments with Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How you doing?
Good morning. I am so good. So good. It's a great day, and I'm just happy to be alive and happy to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful day out there. We have a great show, folks. If you're just tuning in, make sure that you do follow judycopenbarger.com. Make sure that you follow her on social media. Her book is Money, Truth, and Life. And make sure that you guys connect with her on the different platforms as well. But without further ado, today we have a great topic, and it's actually a very awesome thing that we're going to talk about, and that is influential women. And it's a very great topic because number one, I am speaking to an influential woman, so we get to know more of the insights and out of just this great topic. So I want to get started with maybe defining what is an influential woman.
Wow. Well, it's a woman of influence. So it could be a mother that's just home being a leader to her children and a leader in her household. It could be a leader in business, a leader in the community, the ministry, in education, teachers. You always think of the frontline responders and the nurses and people like that. So it's a woman who, in this context, is making decisions that impact the lives of other people. And when we're talking about from a financial perspective, they're making money decisions and fiscal decisions for themselves, for their businesses, for their staff, for their community, for their families. It's just people that mothers, women who have decision making that really has an impact.
Great. And so let me start by asking you, so how do influential women, how do they balance their work and family?
Wow.
Children per se.
Wow. It's kind of like, how do you do
All
that?
right.
It's a choice every day. And I had to do that when we were raising our children. We have five, and there's an 8-year spread between them. In the middle of having those kids, my husband and I both attended law school. We got extra graduate degrees. We did a lot of work. We were trying to support them and make ends meet and pay the mortgage. But really, for me, it was a choice every day. Planning was key. But what I learned to do really well was integrate the children with my daily activities. So, you need that time with them. All they want is you when they're little. And so things like taking a shopping trip, I would take one or two or maybe a litter of them with me shopping. And then instead of just throwing everything in the cart and let's get through as quick as we could, we would make it a learning lesson. And I kind of think homeschoolers are really good at this. Like everything is a life
Mm-hmm.
lesson. So when you're putting the things in the cart, you talk about, this one costs more than this one. And you can even see price per unit. They put it right there on the shelf anymore. So you could say, well, this one costs 30 cents a unit. This is 35 cents a unit. Which one should we purchase? Well, the one that costs less, because then we have more left over to buy other things or have a fun night with the family. So doing things like that, integrating the work of the household with the kids, things, like even running an errand in the car, somebody cuts you off. What do? They're watching and they don't miss much, these little guys. So what do you
Right.
do? You say, oh, go ahead, sir. You must be in a hurry. Or do you flip them off? Or do you cuss? How do you respond in relationships to people? Having your children with you, one or two or all of them at a time, they're able to learn from you and have that quality time. That's one of the love languages is quality time. And for children that have that as their primary need, they need to be with you. So there's the other ones, gifts and words of affirmation and, time together.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that they're learning from you as you're balancing your work life and your home life. And this is critical right now for mothers who are home trying to work upstairs and the kids are downstairs trying to do school. It's critical. But I think the most important thing to think about is have a plan. Have a plan every week. What can I do to make sure they get their quality time and I get my work time? Be intentional. I think that'll really help a lot.
So, in talking about balancing, also, there's also things that come up, like such as cash flow issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Well, anyone, whether you have children or not, whether you're a woman or not, you want to really be intentional about how your money goes out. It's obviously we're intentional about how it comes in, how we make money, how we
Mhm.
create clientele, how we earn our money, what kind of job we have. So cash flow issues are key, but you want to have a spending plan because if everything that comes out goes out, or if everything that comes out more goes out, and you end up, accruing
Mhm.
consumer debt, you want to make sure that doesn't happen because it's not sustainable. So having an intentional spending plan is key. Some people would call it a budget, but for me, a budget is the B word. It's kind of like a diet, what I can't have. We don't like that. So it's a spending plan. So be intentional, make sure that you put in their gifts and holidays and travel and fun nights and date nights and, times out with the kids. Make sure you put that into your plan. But those things are just as important as making sure that the mortgage or the rent gets paid. You have money for gas, you have
Right.
money for food and all those things.
Excellent. And so we're talking about planning. So let's talk a little bit about planning for retirement.
Oh yeah,
How did they get started? Yeah.
you got to have some. You don't want to rely on family in later years. You don't want to rely on the government in later years. Well, as an independent woman, as an influential woman, I don't want to rely on others. So I'm making an assumption about a lot of women out there, but I'm assuming they don't want to rely on other people. So if you're not going to rely on other people, you've got to have a way to, be independent. So you've got to be proactive. And it's those little bits, bit by bit, that you save over the years that make a big difference. Obviously, if you're 30, you have more time. Time is your friend. More time to save than
Mhm.
someone who's watching this at 50 going, shoot, I wish I would have started sooner. But you want to start as early as you can, save as often as you can. Payroll contributions is a great way to plan for retirement because the government gives us several opportunities to save money for later without having to pay tax on it now. And so you add to what you're saving the tax rate, your state tax, your federal tax, all of that, if you have state tax where you live. So that's huge. I mean, it changes the trajectory of what you're going to have at the other end. So if you have a payroll deduction option, 401k, 403b if you're a public employee or if you're a nonprofit, 457. If you don't have that available, if you have your own business or you're not working right now, you can also invest if there's income coming into the household. If you're married, it could be your husband's income, right? Or your wife's income.
Mhm.
But if you have that income, earned income, you can put money into an IRA. So the easiest way to get this done is to have it not ever be missed. So when you have your plan for all your monthly expenses, you want to have a monthly like rollover go right into your savings or your IRA accounts. So every month you get paid on the first, on the fifth, it pours right over, set it up with your bank or credit union. It pours right over into that account automatically. And then you never miss it. It's like it's not in your checking account, so you don't miss it. And then you can see that account on your retirement program just growing. It's powerful.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, folks, for joining us. Those that are watching currently right now, we are here talking Money Truth Moments every Tuesday at 8 a.m. If you're not following Judy, follow her at judycopenbarger.com. She's on the platforms. Go to her website. There's a lot of great resources there that we'll talk a little bit more about later. But make sure that you stay connected. Ask your questions because Judy's great about answering and giving you guys responses that we can also talk about it live while we're doing the show as well, too. So with that said, let's talk about how do you maximize tax-free deferred programs for retirement and possible future cash flows.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, and I've got a lot of YouTube videos. If you just go to YouTube and look at my name, there's a lot of videos on these specific plans. And I think if you're not sure what the difference is between a 401k and a 403b or a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, there's a lot of information that are quick, easy trainings that can help you learn the difference and how there might be an advantage one way or another to you in your certain circumstances. So go there. Another place to go is the Money, Truth, and Life book. It's available everywhere you can get a book, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target. I think we're a bestseller on Target. Definitely Amazon, #1 bestseller. But it's called Money, Truth,
Mhm.
and Life. And it goes through every kind of retirement program there is, every kind of pension. It lays out pros and cons of each one and which ones would be available for you in the line of work that you're in. if you have an employer, know what is offered there. Do they have a retirement program? Do they have a Roth option on the retirement program? Those are great if you're not in your last 5 or 10 years of work. An HSA program. This is where all of those premium deductibles, all of those, when you go pay to get shots or you go pay to get, vitamins or anything that's health related, chiropractic, sometimes you have a copay that you have to pay when you go in.
Hmm.
The HSA will allow you to pay for all of those things every year without having to pay tax on that money. And at my age, you can put 7,000 a year in. If you're a little younger, it's 6,000 a year. But it's huge. And most people, if you add up all the Band-Aids and all the little vitamins, all the things that you pay for each year, it's a good amount of money. So for a lot of people, that's several $1,000s in their pocket right there, just by using an HSA program at work that is offered almost everywhere. And if your employer doesn't have one, talk to HR and ask them to get one. It doesn't cost them anything, and it's a great benefit for the employees. And again, all of this is
Excellent.
detailed on the YouTube videos and in the book, Money, Truth, and Life.
Excellent. Folks, we are talking today about influential women. We have Judy covering a lot of great pieces of this, balancing work and life. We also just discussed about planning for retirement, tax deferred programs as well. One of the next questions I have for you, Judy, is how can we plan for long-term care? Or how can not only women, but everybody in general plan for long-term care?
Yeah, well, everyone can check with what they have at work if they're employed. So a lot of times there are short-term and long-term disability benefits. There's long-term care insurance benefits. If you're in healthcare, you probably have that automatic with your payroll, but look to see what's available. Often we just don't look. Like there's a whole menu there and we're not ordering anything. So, and generally, not always, but generally through your employer, there will be a group rate, which might be less than you could get on your own. Not always true. So you want to always shop it. But often, especially for long-term care, if it's available, it's going to be for a good amount discount. Sometimes your employer, when you sever, because it's hard to imagine you're going to need long-term care while you're employed as a young person. You think, I won't need that till I'm 89, right? But we don't
Right.
know. But if your employer will allow you to keep that insurance going at that rate after you sever, after you retire, or you change jobs or something, that would be valuable. So know what benefits are there. If you don't have it available at work and it's not going to be available there, then you can buy long-term care insurance on your own. It's available independently. But I have to tell you, and we have it available obviously through our firm, I have to tell you it's not as good as it used to be. And the reason is the claims are higher. People are living longer, and not all of them are living longer healthily. So it costs more. The benefits are lower than it used to be historically, but it's still available. What I usually recommend for people, if we're looking at more bang for our buck and a premium that will not continue to increase in later years, for long-term
Mhm.
care insurance, for a lot of people, it becomes cost prohibitive in later years. They paid all this money all these years, and then they drop it, and then they need it. And that's terrible. But if you have an option to buy life insurance that has a long-term care benefit, living needs benefit inside, you can have life insurance that never expires. It'll never go up in premium and it'll never go away. So you'll have it in those late years when you're likely to need it, if at all. And it's going to be at a great discount when you compare it side by side with long-term care. So look for life insurance that has long-term care benefits to it. It'll probably be a fifth of the cost, depending on your age and your health, obviously. If you qualify for it, that's probably going to be the best way to go for most people.
Can you talk a little bit about, and I heard you mention living benefits. Can you share just a little bit about what that is?
Sure. So life insurance says you pay me money, you pay a premium, and when you pass away and we have a death certificate, someone, your beneficiary, is going to come with a death certificate and fill out a claim form and say, I'm the beneficiary. It's time for you to pay me the money. And they will transact whatever the face amount or the death benefit is, they will pay that money. If you have living needs benefits, that means while you're living, let's say you have $1 million that when you die, my husband's going to get a check, right? $1 million, no questions asked. But if I use my living needs benefits, if the policy has it, if I end up with long-term critical illness, if I have a stroke and I'm in bed for a year or two and need help to rehab, if I have a bad accident, now I'm in a wheelchair and I need a van that has a lift on it or a ramp. If I lose a limb, if I lose my sight, there are all of these things that can happen in life. If I get diabetes and amputation, all of these things that can happen. If I have terminal cancer, and we know it's just a matter of time. So if one of those things
Mhm.
happens, depending on the policy, they lay all this out, I can take part of that $1 million that would ultimately be paid to my husband upon my passing. I can take part of that money now and use it to put a lift on my van, to put a ramp on my house. If I know I have a short amount of time, we can go do that dream trip to Europe and go see, the Eiffel Tower, because it's something we always thought
Mhm.
about doing. We can use the money for any purpose while I'm living. When I pass away, any money that wasn't already used for that purpose, that living benefit, would still be paid out in death benefit to my husband when I pass. So maybe if we use 200,000 of it, he'll still get 800,000. It's amazing. It's a great benefit, and it's either no cost or very minimal cost added on as a rider to a life insurance policy. So look into it. It's huge. It's huge. And I get a little emotional because I think about the clients that have used these benefits and how they've used them, and it's powerful, and it's such an amazing thing for the families to have those experiences and make, if it is the end years, make those end years amazing. And if it's not those end years and they come back, and I've had some of them to come back from brain cancer, right? Come back, they've had all of that time and all of the conveniences, alternative medicine that's not covered by health insurance. They're able to use the money for things like that. So it's
Wow.
huge. Worth looking into. Great question.
Th- Yeah, thank you. And folks, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Judy Copenbarger on the show here, Money Truth Moments. This is the kind of wisdom that Judy shares with folks, and you just heard it right now. We just discussed living benefits, and I'm pretty sure a lot of folks aren't aware of that. And I
Right.
think it's something that you kind of hear these buzzwords here and there, but because you don't know any better, you're too afraid to ask, or it's just something that nobody's told you to look into, or how it can benefit you or your family. So if you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Make sure you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. On her website, there is a wealth of wisdoms, and not only in video, but in resources. And we're going to get to talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the show. So since we're talking about long-term care now, let's talk a little bit about how can you plan for security issues like your housing, your auto, your health insurance. We just talked about some of that.
Hmm. Insurances. Yeah, that's a big chunk. It's a big chunk. It's one way. It's not the only way. It's one way that we protect what we're accumulating along the way. So definitely you want to have the right house insurance in case, a hurricane comes or burns down or flood or something like that. However, what most people overlook, it's just kind of tagged onto the policy and they don't really think about. Well, in California here, we're a little bit litigious. Everybody sues over everything. And you want to make sure the liability portion of that policy is adequate. And most of the time, there's a cap and it's not adequate. So you want to consider, if you own a home or own any property, that you have a tort liability umbrella. A lot of words. A tort is a body of law that covers if you hurt someone or break their stuff, right? If your cause of damages to someone. Liability means that you did it and you should have to pay for it. And then umbrella just means it covers not just an accident on your property, but it goes with you. It might be an accident out on the highway. And I heard yesterday, I was counseling a family that had an awful accident yesterday.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was a mother driving with two small children. A motorcycle hit the passenger side. He was killed, and he killed the daughter, 11 years old, yesterday.
Oh, man.
Right here.
Wow.
Awful. Good friends of ours. But so they're dealing with all the aftermath, and later it'll be the business of all of that. But the first thing is, is everybody else okay? What do we do now? But we got to look now at the business side of things. The insurance, was there enough liability insurance, and how do we protect assets? So tragic. It's just tragic when that happens. But every day it
Yeah.
happens. It's not always someone we know, but it's every day. So,
Yeah.
so you want to make sure the liability portion of your insurance is adequate. It's never going to be enough on an auto policy, but with a tort liability, it will cover things like that as well. Health insurance, make sure that you have the right copays, you have the right deductibles that really match your station in life, like your budget, how much money you can afford to pay if something did happen, the likelihood of that happening. Some people have gone 10 years, they've hardly go to the doctor, they don't have any claims, they've never broken their leg, and they don't really need to have low deductibles because they're not using a lot of pharmacy and a lot of things.
Right.
Later,
Right.
we're at the doctor a little more often. But for young people that are healthy and they're doing their thing, they might be able to handle higher deductibles because it hardly ever happens. So those are just things to look at, but always remember the liability side, the what if side of insurance.
Right.
And insurance, just to mention, insurance is one part of the protection when we're looking at our whole financial situation. You have insurances that cover those are risks that we can't afford to pay on our own. We have a company do that if it happened. There's also the legal and legacy, the trust, and the LLC entity provides a lot of protection for assets. Um, there's a lot of tax planning we can do in the tax area that provides protection. It's a way to protect what we've accumulated. And then the other couple of pillars have to do with cash flow, cash reserves, and the growth. And that's all your investments and your leverage and your real estate and things like that. But all of that's covered, like you mentioned, the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program, all of it's covered in there from, one end to the other. And if anybody
Yeah,
wants
I was gonna ask you about that too. If you can talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like this is all part of what you cover in the online mastery program. If you can give folks some more details about that too, please.
Yeah, I'd say, I could talk here for 2 or 3 or 4 hours about all this stuff, but it's easier just to go onto the program, learn the parts that you're interested in, because it covers all of it. And you can go chapter by chapter and, watch the videos that really are relevant to what you're thinking about doing or what you're about to implement or what you're trying to decide about. It covers all of those in a pretty nifty order. And right now we have the online program available for a week free. You don't have to pay anything, and you can watch a couple of these videos to answer these specific questions for you. If you want to keep the program and learn the whole thing, I mean, maybe you could do it in a week. I don't know. But if you want to learn the whole thing, I think it's only $9 or $10 a month. And you could subscribe to it and then just keep it going and share it with other people. So that's available. I think it's a great resource. Of course, I had a hand in it. And really the way it came about is after working 40 or so years with families and small businesses and ministries and influencers, a lot of women influencers, but all kinds of all these questions came up. How do I do that? The practical side. This is very practical information. It's strategic wisdom to help you and your family get where you want to go and avoid all those costly mistakes. So I put this together really out of need. There was a vacuum in the space. When you look at the faith-based programs for money, they'll tell you, what the Bible says or, what you should be doing, but not how do I do that at my house? And then when you look at the secular, everything at Barnes and Noble about money, it's all about invest in this thing. I happen to sell gold, invest in this thing. I happen to be a Bitcoin dealer, there isn't really a good strategic, collaborative, comprehensive approach to just how do I do money at my house? With how do I take care of my parents and how do I teach my kids at my house? So it's a great program that teaches you everything, what it means. We were talking about distinguishing all of the retirement programs, but it distinguishes all of the insurances. If you go to buy life insurance, there's 500 kinds and they're contracts. So there's 500 provisions and different contracts. How do you decipher what you actually need? So I think the program is invaluable for anyone who wants to learn, or if they have adult children that haven't learned from hard knocks yet. A lot of us learn the hard way, and you want your children to avoid that. They can just go learn, and it'll help them navigate really well. So I strongly encourage people to go there and learn what they can.
Thank you. And I know we're coming close to the end of the show, but I want to also throw in one more question on you, and that's, again, with the topic of influential women. How do influential women plan for their legacy?
Wow. How do you plan for your legacy? Well, legacy is not something that you leave. People say, leave your legacy. It's something you create. it's an ongoing project while we're here, because what they say about us when we're gone, what they think about us when we're not here, is something that we can create. It's about the relationship and what we actually made sure that they receive from us. So it could be money, it could be property. We leave them the family home, grandma's house, whatever. It could be our business. If you have a family business, and they'll carry on, kids and grandkids can carry on with that. It could be the charitable endeavors, the heart that we have to help other people. They watch us do that, and we train them up, and they do the same thing. But really, it's about our values. Did we value music? Did we value education? Did we value people? What are the values that they know by the way we lived our lives? That's what you create, that they can carry on and take the good things of your life and use it for them and for their kids and their kids. The behaviors that we had, the activities that we engaged in, the attitudes that we had. We talked about when you're driving down the road and somebody does something, to your car, cuts you off or something. What is the
Yep.
attitude that you have? Oh, they must be in a hurry. Sorry, sir, you go right ahead. Or is it something else, right? They're gonna remember your attitude. It's more of the feeling. If you think about people that have passed before you, your grandma, your great grandma, whatever, people that you knew that are no longer here, when you think of who they were, those are the things that show up. It's not, oh, they gave me $10,000. I got a check, from the attorney later.
Right.
It's who they were. It's not always something they left. Now, it might be a tangible item, like a note that they wrote to you, or their favorite teacup that you remember grandma sipping in the corner in the window, drinking out of. But really, it's those things, who we were, how we lived, that we pass on, that they receive, that becomes legacy. It's how we honor our family before us. When we talk about our family and our heritage and the family history, yeah, grandpa was on a farm out in Oklahoma, and they came out in the Dust Bowl. They immigrated, and they came to New York City, and they saw the Statue of Liberty there, and they were on the boat, just so excited to be here. Whatever the story is, make sure your family knows the story, good, bad, and ugly. You want to pass
Right.
along the story, because that becomes part of who they are. You create your legacy.
So-
You don't just leave it.
No, that's a great point. And actually, this brings me up to our favorite part of the show, which is our challenge. I know, but I want to make sure we get our challenge in this week. So take it away.
Okay, here's the challenge. When we're thinking about legacy, think about what you want your family down the line to receive from you. So take out pen and paper. I'm all about pen and paper. There's something about the mind to the eye to the hand to the pad of paper. Four things. So, what money or assets do you want them to have? Is there a sum of money you want them to have? Is there, a certain, number on a check that you want to make sure they get? Is there a property? Do you want to make sure that they each have a house to get started in, whatever it is? So something that's tangible, money. The second thing, what life lessons do you want them to receive from you? Something that you learned maybe the hard way, or something that a mentor told you and you navigated really well. You want to pass that along, make sure they receive that. The third thing is your family heritage. The geography of your family, the immigration of your family, the occupations of your family that came before you. They want to know that. So make a few notes about things you want them to receive from you about the family that came before you. And then ultimately, what do you want them to say about you when you're gone? What characteristics do you want to come to mind for them when they're thinking of you and remembering you? And then just think about, what legacy are you creating with your family right now? So 4 things should be on paper after you reflect on this. The money or assets you want to give them, the life lessons you want to give them, the family heritage you want to give them, and what do you want them to say about you? That's your challenge this week.
Excellent. And thank you, folks, for joining us. Judy, as always, thank you very much for your time, your wisdom. Thank you guys for joining us and tuning in. Remember to follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. This has been another Money Truth Moment with Judy Copenbarger. Until next week, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Make sure you mark it on your calendars. Take care, Judy.
Bye-bye. My pleasure. Good.